It's a brisk December morning, and I'm sitting in some woodland just to the north of Glasgow. And I'd imagine that because you're watching this, you're sitting somewhere as well. But I'm also going to assume that you're sitting on something that's a bit more comfortable than what I'm sitting on, because I'm sitting on a tree stump, which is rather hard and unforgiving, and today a little bit cold. But the usefulness of how firm what I'm sitting on is that it gives me a lot of good feedback about how I'm sitting. If we get in contact with something that's soft, then the softer it is, the less it tells us about ourselves. Whereas something that's hard, its very hardness means that we're getting a lot more feedback, maybe sometimes too much feedback, about how the joints in our hands are, for example. When we're sitting, most of the weight goes through two particular points, and this is where I'd like you to get a little bit involved. Because if you can, for a moment, sit on top of your hands with your palms face up, you should quite quickly find that there are actually two bones. There are pads of flesh as well, but there's two bones that you sit on, and these are usually referred to as the sitting bones. They're not separate bones, they're actually part of the pelvis, but you can feel how distinct they are. And one thing that usually surprises me is how close they are together. But that shouldn't really be a surprise, because it's one of the reasons why even a quite narrow bicycle saddle can be relatively comfortable, because the two sitting bones sit on the two pads at the back of the saddle. Now, the reason all this matters to us is that if you're sitting on something that's really, really soft, then those two sitting bones could be at a slant, and your spine would have to curve to make up for that. And if that's the case for a short period of time or while you're moving, that isn't really a problem. But if you're sitting still for a long time, and that's how most of us sit, then it could be a problem if your pelvis is slightly slanted and your spine always has to take up that misalignment. So it makes more sense to sit on something that's a little bit firmer, so you can know whether what you're sitting on or how you're sitting on it is level or not. Now, that isn't to suggest you should sit on a tree stump all the time, simply that the furniture and the car seats that we sit on and everything else we sit on, the softer it is, the less feedback it gives us. So I hope that that was informative, and if not, maybe it made your hands a bit warmer at least. Thank you for listening.